Well, welcome to Laugh and Learn with Really Social. We are in the Who's Who in Social Media episode for this month, and I am so pleased to welcome Carlos Gill to today's live stream. Carlos, how is it going?
It's going great. How are you doing, Rachel?
Doing great. I appreciate you making the time today, and I just love when I'm able to talk to somebody who I personally get to watch and see in social media, just working the mojo, and it's fantastic to have you here today, and welcome to everyone viewing today. We are on Huzza as well as Facebook Live, so please feel free to use both of those platforms. Share this out. We want to get the word out about Carlos and just basically the information he's going to share, the knowledge he'll bring to us today for all of us who do work in the social media space or want to. So we're going to roll with that today. And again, focus on what we're going to hear Carlos bring today as far as the knowledge that he is working in business today for social media. And thank you again for patience with technology, everyone. But this is what we're bringing you to today. And Carlos, what I'd like to do is jump into some questions. And my hope today is that we'll cover some questions that maybe you don't routinely get about yourself. Some will be repetition, but some, I think, and some of the people watching today can speak to this as well, that they don't tend to get a lot of these questions.
Awesome.
So that's
I love
my goal.
I love having curveballs thrown at me. So. And I just wanted to know, I did not read the show notes beforehand, so I know that you sent me some questions. I purposely didn't take a look at them because when I do these, I like to be, organic, off the cusp. I don't want to have scripted, canned answers for you. So just want to give you a heads up.
Nice. I think that's fantastic, and I love that. So I think that'll actually make these questions even better. So that's great. All right. Well, first of all, let's just acknowledge the fact that there might be someone watching this that does not, in fact, know who you are. So I would love to, if you just were doing your elevator pitch, which I don't really like that term, but if you had 30 seconds to tell somebody about you, give us that.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I call it a 30-second pitch also. I think it's extremely important because in today's day and age, one of the questions that you are constantly asked, whether it's at a networking event or whether it's even online, is tell me about yourself. And if you really can't answer that question within, honestly, like 10 to 15 seconds, then you've already lost. But a little bit about Carlos Gill. I've worked in social media professionally now for over 8 years. I used to have a startup. I got into social media as a result of a job loss in the banking industry in 2008. And since then, I founded a startup, like I said before, it's called Jobs Direct USA. Ran that for 4 years and then parlayed my entrepreneurial experience combined with my experience in social media marketing into brand marketing. I was hired by Winn-Dixie, a supermarket chain in Florida, and from Winn-Dixie, moved on to Save A Lot, where I ran digital, and then moved over to LinkedIn, which brought me out here to the Bay in San Francisco. And today I work for BMC Software, where I'm the global head of social media. And in addition to my professional career, you've probably seen me on Snapchat, which is a network I know we're going to talk a lot about here in today's show. But it's a social network that I've been on since 2013. Big fan of it. Do a lot of public speaking around using Snapchat for business. And that's a little bit about me. I know I was probably a tad beyond 30 seconds, but
that's fine. No, whenever you try to get in that nutshell, I think if you're ever under 60 seconds, you're probably on a good goal. So that's great. And thank you, Alfredo, for sharing that, the link in the sidebar. And again, you guys, question and answers in the sidebar and links if you want to share too. But this is awesome. So now, Carlos, I know you mentioned Snapchat. The next question I had was how you and I know each other. I did get to meet you briefly. I was at South by Southwest last year, and they had, I think that you guys created an offshoot event. It was you and Brian Fanzo and at least a couple other people that was focused on Snapchat. Do you want to just share about what that event was? Because that was incredibly helpful to me as a marketer.
Yeah, so the event was actually called Snap by Southwest. And just to give folks out there a little bit of insight how this whole thing came together, I was at South by Southwest where I was a speaker, and I was there for a period of 5 days, and I was speaking for 30 minutes on one day. And I'm one of these people, I'm all about maximizing time and efficiency. It's something that you hear me talk a lot about on Snapchat and on social media. So I naturally don't like to go to a city and just hang around and have drinks and network just for the sake of doing it. I'd like to be able to go into a city with a purpose. I'm there to speak. I'm going to host a workshop. I'm going to host an event. So 5 days before South by Southwest, I met this woman called Valerie Vicante, who's in Austin, Texas. And at the time, she was working for an agency called Handsome Media. And I knew that all of these Snapchat influencers were going to be in town, like Sean Duras and Shauna Yala and Jeannie Can Breathe and Cyrene Q and on and on. I knew these folks were going to be in town already for South by. So I thought, you know what, there's not a lot happening on the agenda at South by around Snapchat. I had this agency that's reached out that's basically opened up their doors to a networking event. And I just connected the dots, and literally Snap by Southwest came together in a matter of 5 days, went on and created a splash page for landing page to collect signups, started going just hustle mode to promote. And we had, what would you say, at least a little over 100 people that came out to the event. It was really successful, had a few different panels on using Snapchat for business. And I was really encouraged to see how a community could really come together in a short period of time. So thanks for everyone, including yourself, that came out, Rachel. It was something that since then, it's planted the seed around taking communities and organizing events in various cities. And again, it goes back to maximizing time and efficiency.
Yeah, agreed. And, it was so cool for me because it was really interesting to me. I think I saw an article after South by that said, what was the premier social media app for South by Southwest? And it wasn't Snapchat. I don't even remember what the article said it was. And I was just like, because I don't know about you, but every time I came out of a panel or went into a panel, all I heard was Snapchat. That was just the word on the street. And so when you guys created that offshoot, gathering,
they're called unofficial events.
Unofficial events, that's right. I was so keen to go to that because I'm like, yes, this is what I'm hearing. I need to hear more. And frankly, South by was my first experience to actually start doing daily snaps. So I applaud the effort there. It was so fun to tap into that platform, and it's been great to know you too and see how you're influencing people to start using it, particularly for business purposes. So that's been great. Well, and that leads to the next question I had for you. So I do consider you a who's who in social media. You're out there, you're influencing, and I love seeing your videos. I've seen some of your videos that you've shared on Facebook about, they're kind of chapters about talking about how to best advise business people or people trying to influence social media to go with their own route and not try to copycat and not be worried about that stuff. But and I love all those things. Can you talk briefly about what your 2 or 3 primary goals are today in social media for how you're helping people and influencing them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great question. I want to preface by saying that there is no handbook on how to use social media. You have a lot of thought leaders, you have a lot of speakers and influencers out there that we all look up to, but there's no right or wrong way to do this, because how every business creator and person uses social media is going to be completely independent from one another, and you can learn best practices from others. And that's one of the things that I know I do. A lot of other thought leaders out there, we always are advocating for engage and add value. It's almost become very cliche, and you hear a lot of these buzzwords, but it starts really with identifying your audience. So who are you trying to really impact? And even well before identifying your audience, what do you want to use social media for? So there's a lot of people that use social media at professional level for just straight research and development. They're sitting back. People call them lurkers, and I think it's a bad term, because you have a lot of, for example, C-level executives that are on Twitter, or they're on Facebook, or they're even on Snapchat nowadays, and they're just using social media to do their own research and development. And that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is using it for professional networking and professional development. So that's your personal branding. So whatever your end game is, you need to determine very early on, why are you on these platforms? Because I will be the first to say, I've been on here for 8+ years, almost 10 years using this professionally, but I've been using social media since 1995 when I was 12 years old, and back then it was known as AOL. I've seen how this has evolved, and you have to have an end game, because if not, you're going to get sucked into this vortex. And I like to say social media is this huge ocean, and everyone's always focusing on how wide can I go. And in business nowadays, the name of the game is how narrow can I go? How targeted can I go to find my audience on there? So every company in America, every company in the world should know who it is they're trying to sell to. And once you know who you're trying to sell to, then it's very simple. You identify what networks are they on, are they engaging on? Well, guess what? You can go on Twitter, and within seconds, you can type in either your company name or that of your competitor or that of your industry, and you can see what people are saying. You can go on Facebook nowadays, and you can use within Ads Manager, you can use your targeting criteria to identify how many people that your company is looking to sell to are on Facebook. And again, it goes back to using social media to make relevant connections with prospective buyers or like-minded individuals. I know we have a lot of people out there that are probably watching this. They're like, I don't run a business, or I'm just using social media to network, and that's fine too. But it's really having an end game and a purpose and using these mediums to connect with relevant, like-minded people. And I say this because when I started using social media professionally in 2008, it was right after I lost my job. And my end game was, how do I use this medium to rebrand myself to ultimately find a new job? And the process, I started networking with a lot of other people like me. So that's where the like-minded comparison comes in. And I was inspired by the fact there were so many people out of work on social media that's really what motivated me to start up my company back then. And then I shifted and started thinking, how can I use LinkedIn in 2008, 9, and 10 to find recruiters? How can I then start using Twitter and start getting involved in conversations that recruiters are having about the industry or about candidates that they're looking to hire? So again, like I said earlier, Rachel, there's no right or wrong. There's no handbook. It's how do you really want to use this? And once you identify these people, what content are you putting in front of them? What value are you driving to them potentially? Because social media is no different than face-to-face networking or face-to-face marketing. You have one chance to make a first impression, and that's it. So a lot of people I've seen misuse social media, and they go down the route of, as soon as they connect with you, they're hitting you up over the head with a sales offer, or they're pitching you what they do. And it doesn't work like that. I'd like to say this, and I'll turn it over to you because I know I've just been jamming out here for 2 or 3 minutes straight, that social media is not a replacement for how business used to be done. In fact, it is old school rules still apply with new school technologies.
Nice. I love that. Seriously, I so appreciate that you said that. I was talking to Ross Brand yesterday on his show about, it just blows my mind that there are still people out there who see social media as some kind of billboard that they just need. I just need to shout all the time about what I'm doing. And instead that you're not treating it like, hey, I'm meeting you for coffee and it's all about this connection we're going to make. I need to listen to you, find out what's important to you, what's the context of our conversation. And that is such a huge tool of social media today, and not realizing that that's the whole purpose and forum of it, I think is a huge miss for businesses and just anyone who is, like you said, trying to accomplish an end game. They're just missing the forest for the trees, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I so appreciate you brought that up too. And do you find, one quick offshoot question of that, I know I'm using offshoot as a keyword today apparently, but what do you find that the learning curve of knowing the capabilities of these social tools is a bit of a obstacle for businesses or professionals? Because would they know that they can go in Twitter and look up people, or would they know that they can go into Facebook ads and find very specific demographics and groups? I mean, how often do you find that?
Here's the reality of this, and this is the conspiracy theory that I'm going to uncover, if you will. Most marketers are not practitioners in these tools. So let me repeat that. Most people that get paid a salary at an organization are not on Twitter. They are not on Facebook. They might use it personally, but when they go home at the end of the day and they turn on the TV, they are not in the social media masterminds group on Facebook engaging, or in Joel Kine's live video mastermind group. They're not doing that. They are disconnected because their job is, how do I connect people with my brand through traditional means? Right. Now, we're talking about a brand marketer. A social media marketer's responsibility and objective is, how do I build brand awareness and engagements, and most importantly, conversion around the products that my company sells? How do I make my company relevant on social media? Those are two completely different roles. However, the people in marketing organizations that tend to hold the dollars are the traditional brand marketers. They're spending money on print advertising still, and on TV, and on radio spots, on trade show booths, and I could go on and on. These individuals, to answer your question, for the most part, do not know how these tools work. However, and this is where I challenge any one of my peers that work at a brand, your objective, or if you run an agency, I should say as well, your objective, your sole objective needs to be, how do I get internally these stakeholders to actually care? How do I teach them? How do I show them? If you're not doing that, then I'm sorry. You can be driving all the impressions in the world. You can be driving all the clicks in the world, but you're really not doing your job as an internal strategist.
Agreed. I so appreciate you saying that too. I think that you can think you're accomplishing it all, but yeah, you've got to be learning and networking and doing all that on the side. And to miss that it's to miss out basically on what you could be doing better. So let's, I want to talk a little bit more about you. Now, I have a feeling you'll have a good answer for this because you've been talking about this in your videos thus far. But there really is only one you in the world, right? There's world scale. That's the way it should be. There's only going to be one of all of us in the world. But can you talk about how you create a difference in what you do compared to how somebody else would do it? What's your special, unique value add?
You know what, to be honest with you and with anyone watching this, from the age of 25 till about the age of 30, I wanted to be the next Gary Vaynerchuk. I will humbly say that. I used to see Gary videos, and I used to see him on stages and write books and do his thing. And I said, I want to be next Gary V. And it became a goal. And it was something about turning the age of 30. I'm almost 33. But there was something about turning 33 years ago that like a light bulb went off in my head. And I said to myself, I have one opportunity in this lifetime to be Carlos Gil. And from this point forward, I'm not going to try to mirror someone else. I'm going to just be myself. And what myself is the uniqueness that I have to offer and the background that I have to offer, knowledge. And that's not just me. That's everyone out there. Each one of us, you, Rachel, I think Alfredo that I see here in the chat, every single person possesses a unique talent and ability. What happens is at different periods of our life is when we discover that unique talent and ability. And once you discover that you possess that, whatever it might be, it could be, how to get people to be better sales professionals, how to sell things. It could be, how to crochet something, and how to teach people that. Whatever that ability is, once you discover that you have it, then go all in with that. And you'll see that it's a lot sexier being yourself than it is trying to be someone else.
Yes, amen to that. I love that. I know you know Joe Wilson too. You and him this last week have been an inspiration to me on a personal level too, just reminding that you don't have to be somebody else. You can definitely aspire and grab components that you admire and bring those into your playbook. But in the end, you are you, and you are the only you. And as Joe Wilson says, we're all famous to a few people. There's going to be that audience of people that really cares about what you bring to the table because it's relevant to them. And I love that you say that too, and that's so great that you came to that realization. You're like, there's totally nothing wrong with wanting to be somebody or wanting to be just like them. But then you came into your own confidence to say, no, I'm me, and there's only going to be one me, and I should be all that I can be Carlos Gil for as long as I can. I love that you
go all in on being yourself. You can never go wrong going all in on being yourself.
Absolutely. Well, cool. Let's segue into the social media stuff a little bit more. I have a guess as to the answer for this, but what is your favorite social media platform, and tell us why?
That's interesting. I know a lot of people are going to assume that I'm going to say Snapchat, and actually it's not Snapchat. Spoiler alert there. My favorite social network has always been Twitter. And it's been Twitter because it gives me the opportunity to virtually search any topic and in real time see what people are saying about it. Again, guys, like I'm not in business to be the Snapchat guy. I am a brand marketer and a professional at the end of the day. So while Snapchat, I've been very blessed and fortunate that Snapchat has really reinvigorated my personal brand and it's presented me with a lot of opportunities, such as speaking and consulting, this and that. At the end of the day, my fiduciary responsibility to the company I work for and or anyone that I'm educating on this space is how can you make the most of social media marketing? And Twitter, I still think, is number one when it comes to, from a pure research and development standpoint, being able to search individuals, being able to search topics. It's a gold mine. Will Twitter be around for the next 5 to 10 years? That is very hard to predict. And honestly, I don't think so. Not at least from what I'm seeing that's happening at Facebook today with Instagram. They announced that they're going head on with Snapchat. And I think Twitter's starting to become almost that social network that's probably going to be the next MySpace, if you will. But historically, with that being said, Twitter has been my favorite social network.
I love that. And obviously you can see in the sidebar, we've got a lot of other Twitter followers and fans. I agree with you. I love Snapchat. Snapchat actually has helped foster and embellish a lot of relationships I already had on Twitter. But Twitter's my first love. I go there first in the morning. It's the last thing I do at night. It's where chatting and networking happens. And the brevity of it, I love that, you know, you have to be brief. It so challenges the writing, and I kind of hope that never changes. But yes, I love that you shared that. And it was a surprise to me because I know you do talk a lot. You're very much a Snapchat advocate, but I love that you bring it back to one of the oldest and most tried and true platforms we have, that Twitter is just really unique unto itself, and it's really hard to copy. Like you just mentioned, Instagram and Snapchat kind of heading off. It's hard to copy Twitter. It's really its own thing, and I love that you love it too, just like many of us do.
Yeah, Twitter has really helped amplify and grow my personal brand over the years. And Snapchat, while I've been on there since 2013, let's face it, Snapchat's only really taken off in the last 12 months, if that.
Exactly.
So with that being said, what Snapchat has done is it's opened the door for new connections. And I like to call it the reciprocal effect. A lot of folks that follow me on Snapchat that learned about me because a friend told them or they're recommended, they like my content, and then they're inclined to Google me. And then when you Google Carlos Gil, I think the first link that comes up, honestly, is my Twitter account. So I've noticed since I've really gone hard on Snapchat over the last 8 to 12 months, the reciprocal effect is more followers on Twitter and more engaged followers on Twitter. And that's the key, is I'm seeing that when I put out content on Twitter, people are actually engaging with it now. They're sharing it, they're commenting. And that's again, like the name of the game here is not how can I have the most followers, but it's really how can I actually have meaningful dialogue and relationships with people. I think all this whole social ecosystem is connected at the end of the day, but it goes back to where can people just look you up, see the content that you're posting, build an immediate connection with you, and that still remains Twitter.
Yeah, and actually, Cammy's asking in the sidebar, Twitter, I think Cammy's saying doesn't rival Snapchat when it comes to attention and engagement, but I think you're saying that they're two different, they're in the microcosm of social media, but they can help embellish each other. They're not the same platform.
They're completely separate from each other. And kind of talking about Snapchat, I, on stage, always compare Snapchat to it's the best of Twitter meets YouTube. And where I'm going with this is content on Snapchat is short form content, very similar to Twitter's 140 character limit. The majority of the content, though, created on Snapchat today is, and also content consumed, is in video, which is where the YouTube comparison comes in. So you basically get the best of both worlds in Snapchat with Twitter and YouTube. But I give you the kicker is I find that people are actually much more engaged and dialed in on Snapchat than they are on Twitter or even so on YouTube.
Agreed. Yeah, and again, I mean, it is about what you tend to share. I mean, you can definitely use Twitter for a different audience and purpose and communication, but then Snapchat, you've got something totally different. Well, there's advantage there to saying, okay, well, I'm going to follow you on or be friends with you on Snapchat and follow you on Twitter, but I still get the whole Carlos Gil, particularly if I'm on both or more. But yeah, I totally agree. I think that I have found and seen that too, where both the relationships on either platform are really built up because of the other connections I have with those people. So I love that you brought that up. So let's ask you a question. And I love this. What's something that could internally or externally make you just go wahoo during your day? It just makes you just amped up. It gives you that moment of joy that, oh my gosh, I'm so glad. What's something that would happen that would cause you to do that?
A couple of things. One is I will randomly get an email come through my inbox from someone that I haven't talked to in a while, just, and they reach out and say, hey, I've been watching you from afar, love what you're doing. It's good to know when you're creating content that people are actually paying attention. And let me kind of break this down for a moment. While I can see metrics on a screen, those metrics are just a number. That number doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't really tell me that people are paying attention. So I have these aha moments probably every single day when someone just reaches out and indicates to me in their own unique way that they're watching. Another example is this morning. As soon as I got to work, I opened up my Snapchat and saw a video that a friend of mine named Francisco had dropped. it was just a DM to me, and he basically was asking me for personal branding advice because he just started a new job and he's looking to grow his personal brand to really try to win over his new employer. Things like that are the reason why I do this. And I say this in the most humble and honest ways, because none of us have to do these things. Like, most of the time that we spend on these platforms, they're not like making a lot of money. We do this because we're passionate and because we care. At least that's why I do. So when I have someone that reaches out, whether it's through email, and they say, hey, I haven't seen you, I've been watching from afar, but I haven't talked to you in a while. I want you to know this is the impact that you've made. Or someone just coming out to me for advice that if I, in that one-on-one time, I'm not creating this broadcast content like this, but I'm taking the time to give that person advice that I know is going to make an impact in their life and their future. To me, that's priceless. And, it's worth more than any speaking gig or consulting or, any check that could come my way.
Well, and I think that that's almost an admonishment for the rest of us too. We live in in a world where it's so easy to hop on the negative and be like, I'm going to go leave a negative review or leave, some snarky comment. Whereas the positive, we're far less likely to go out and really take the time to say, oh my gosh, that made a huge difference to me. So I think that's great for all of us, in the chat here watching on Facebook, to say, if you have someone in your circle on social media that helps you, and they've said or done something that makes different for you, please go let them know that. Because as you said, yes, we can look at metrics day in and day out, but it's that human touch. Someone took that extra 20 seconds to tap out an email or a text to you to say, that just really made my day, or I'm going to approach this differently now because of you. And that can mean the world to someone who's spending all this time learning all these platforms and trying to just get this education out. And I can very much relate with that too. It's so valuable to get that. So let's all do that. Let's build each other up and continue.
And I want to throw something out there. I'm very easy to get a hold of. So on my Instagram, for example, I have my email address. On Twitter, I have my DMs open. On Snapchat, I have my DMs open. Really start analyzing or assessing the other influencers or thought leaders out there. And, I really encourage you, and this is just, I'm throwing this out there subtly, engage with those that make it very easy and accessible to get a hold of them. Those are the ones that really, if they're out professing, adding value, those are the ones that are really adding value because you have direct access to them. And most importantly are they responding back and engaging with you, or is your message just falling on deaf ears?
Exactly. I so agree. And that takes some effort. You can tell those are the true influencers because it's a lot. They're probably getting pegged a lot to respond. And, a lot of questions are just wanting people to say, hey, can you just let me know this or that? It takes the effort and the time for them to do that. But when they're doing that, you can tell that they really, truly care. So I totally agree with that. They're the ones who you can get in contact with. And that's so invaluable. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Now, conversely, what is something that makes you absolutely crazy in your day? Just frustrates you, like, why did that have to happen? Or why did that person have to do that?
I would say just not enough time. There's not enough time in the day. There's no one person that drives me crazy out there. I think we all should have or practice self-control. And if someone's driving you crazy, I think unless it's someone that you directly work with and have to see, I think the easiest thing is self-censorship. Social media gives us the opportunity to block, unfriend people out there that drive you nuts. But I think it's just a matter of time. There's not enough time in the day. There's just really isn't. I balance working a full-time job, which is at least a 9 to 10 hour a day commitment, if not sometimes more, a family, and then side hustling. And typically when the family goes to sleep at 10 is when I literally will go into my office at home and turn on the lights and turn on the computer, and I'm working from 10 to 2 or 10 to 3. If it was up to me, I think it would be great if like each day was like a 36-hour day. So at least I could get like a nice 8 to 9 hours of sleep and then have more time to work.
Agreed. I've actually often wished that maybe we had the 7-day week, but could they just not add an 8th day where nobody bothers anybody else and I can just get done what I need to get done and catch up on that day? I would love
create a 4-day week or a 3-day weekend. And here's where I'm going with this. I find that I can get work done in 10 hours and just work all the way through. And then typically, and this is how I've kind of growth hack for all of you hustlers out there that are also balancing a full-time job like I am and other side projects, is I find that Saturdays and Sundays are some of my most productive days, because Saturday and Sunday, No one's working. It's that mindset of, while everyone's out at the beach or hanging out, I have extra time on my hands to be able to get things done. It's when I write those blog posts. It's when I create content. It's when I'm catching up on emails, because my objective is when someone wakes up on Monday morning, I want for either that piece of content to be the first thing they see in their newsfeed, or I want my email to be the first email that they read when they're waking up at 5:30, 6 a.m. and looking at their iPhone.
That's right. That's right. No, that's seriously, I loved what you said too in one of your videos that you shared on Facebook in the last week, where you talk about there's all this prettiness. Oh, well, so-and-so is getting these accolades and doing this and when, and they're not seeing that you are grinding it out into the wee hours of morning, probably every day of the week, to get that stuff done, to get that knowledge out there. It's not pretty often. A lot of people just see the cosmetics of it and not the actual trench work that's going in.
They just see the results.
That can often be not pretty. Exactly, and there's always more work that's going that nobody's seeing. So I appreciate that you shared that. Now let's. You've mentioned Gary Vee, but do you have, in addition to him, or even besides him now, do you have any idols or mentors that you look to keep you going, keep you fresh, keep you accountable?
Yeah. So mentorship, I think, can be found in a lot of different places. I have professional mentors, which are not social media personas. These are individuals that have worked as a C-level executive at a corporation, either in the past or they currently do. And I think professional mentors are fantastic, especially in our industry where we're doing things like this and people are seeing our face. I think professional mentors, they're great because they're going to critique you on things like your delivery and how well do you speak, how do you communicate. Let me tell you, if we can hang out on Huzza and on Facebook Live for an hour and have this conversation, there's no reason why you or I or anyone else out there that does this can't go in a boardroom and present to executives or to prospective clients. So I think professional mentors that are not necessarily in the social media industry are fantastic, because their point of view is looking at all these aesthetics and really connecting the dots with how can you refine. Again, Gary Vaynerchuk is someone I've looked up to for a lot of years. I've learned a whole lot from him. I probably wouldn't be in this point in my career today if it wasn't for his knowledge and tutelage that he's passed down to me and to others out there. And I tell you what's really cool about where I'm at in my career now is I'm starting to also mentor others out there. People are just getting into the business, and that's why you see me creating a lot of this content I'm creating now, because I'm starting to realize as I enter this next phase of my career, I'm not the young guy in the room anymore. I'm young, but I'm not the up and comer. I'm not that young entry level talent that's just trying to figure out, do I start an agency? Do I go work for an agency? Do I go work for a brand? Do I consult? So I'm really wanting to use my, I hate to use this word, but I'm trying to really use my influence, if you will, to help others out there that are just getting started in this game, to kind of help put them on the right track.
I think that's wonderful. I love that too, because it is. I mean, it's so much easier to learn from someone who's gone before. And particularly, I love when people, like yourself, are very forthcoming with that knowledge. It's like, look, I stub my toes. There's no reason you should stub your toes the same amount that I stub mine. If I can give you some insights that just help you have a little straighter path, good, go, be blessed with that. And so I love that you are giving with that. And you do determine the real, I think, authentic influencers who they're just like, yeah, I'll give you that because you're going to add to this world in which we work, and this industry. And by doing it better, you're going to make it better for the rest of us. Right.
Right.
Yeah. So let's get into some a little more introspective questions. Is there anything you would have done differently in your past to get to where you are today? Something that you were like, I would have made a different choice or a path direction or something like that?
No, I wouldn't have changed a single thing. I'm proud of the path that I've taken. If I would have done anything different, I probably wouldn't be having this conversation with you here today. So I think everything that you do in life is a stepping stone for the future. Everything that happens along the way, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, it helps you build character, and it helps you continue to move forward and get to ultimately what your destined outcome is. Yeah,
agreed. I love that. That I have to say, I'm pretty impressed too, because I think you're one of the few people who I've heard that has that no regrets attitude. You're like, no, everything that happened, even if it seems negative now or negative then, happened for a reason, and it got you here.
Yeah, and I want to say in full disclosure, like my path has not been an easy one by any means. I just want to put this in the context to anyone out there watching. Like, I didn't go to college, for starters. I dropped out of high school at 17 and got a GED, and my career started selling shoes at a shoe store.
Right.
Before moving on to working in banking and then losing my job and not having the education to fall back on. So while, sure, a lot of people probably say to me, to my face, because I've heard this a lot of times, well, don't you regret never going to college? No, absolutely not. Because what was happening was those 4 years that my friends were, drinking and doing drugs and partying and going to college, I was working, gaining experience and earning a living well before they even got their feet wet. So no regrets whatsoever.
That's so great. God, I love that. It can be done, right? It can be done. There's no formula to this. It's about, like you said, diving into who you are and making that happen according to whatever your personal formula is, which is not going to be like for anybody else. So I thank you for sharing that. Is there anything now along that line, is there anything that you, looking back, could single out that you are completely glad that you took that path or made that choice, that was a defining moment and glad I went that way?
Yeah, so the defining moment for me actually came at the end of 2011. So I had a successful running a startup. I'll be the first to humbly admit I knew nothing about running a company. I knew nothing about being an entrepreneur. It was just instinctive. And I was presented with an opportunity then in 2011 to go work for Winn-Dixie. And I'll never forget, I went home, talked with my wife and said, I have an opportunity. This is like the crossroads where I could continue to go down this path of running my own company. There's no income that's guaranteed. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do this, or I can go take a full-time job that's going to pay me very lucrative salary. And most importantly, is going to help me gain experience. I've never worked in corporate marketing before in my life. So that's the path that ultimately I took. And 4 brands later, here I am sitting literally across the country. I was in Jacksonville, Florida back then, San Francisco, California now. And I just look at these last 4 years, and honestly, it's a testament to that decision that I had to make of going down one path or completely pivot and go down another.
I think that's great. And what a risk probably seemed like at the time, like, oh God, I hope this works. And it was risky and it paid off. And again, that was something, like you said, just brought you down this path that you might not have been down. I think that's so great. It's awesome. Okay, well, I've got the fun questions. Now, I think these are—
Let's do it.
They make you dig. All right, if a movie were to be made about your life, who would you want to play you? And I'm not just talking looks. I'm talking about someone who would exude your personality. You think that they would grab you and make you true to life on the screen. Who would you pick?
I've actually thought about this question before. I would probably pick Ben Affleck.
Nice. Well done. And talk about why. What makes him kind of similar to you and be able to be like, oh, that's Carlos on the screen?
Yeah, so I like Ben Affleck's movies a lot, but I think when I look at him, I've seen interviews of him as well. I think we have very similar personalities. Like, we can be funny and quirky, but like generally we're more like dry, very kind of like blunt figures. So I don't know if any of that's even making sense, but there's just something when I've seen Ben Affleck, I always think if someone were to make a documentary of my life someday based on me losing my job and then getting to wherever this path takes me, I would love for it to be Ben Affleck that stars as Carlos Gil.
I love that. Well, who knows? Maybe that'll happen someday. You never know. I mean, I honestly, I do. I think he's a good actor. I've had some, I think he's had moments where he's been in some roles I'm like, but he's also shown himself to be a fantastic director. I love his movies, and I think and obviously a writer. So yeah, I think that's a good choice and awesome. Mine would be Sandra Bullock. I just feel like I've seen her on stuff. I'm like, oh my God, you and I would be
I can see that.
I guess, plus I like how she looks, so that's nice. Now, if you were given a day to yourself with an unlimited budget, and again, time travel is not a factor, unlimited budget for a day, what would you do?
Unlimited budget for a day, I would go feed homeless people. That's a cause that's very important to me. And yeah, I would just try to probably go like San Francisco and try to feed and clothe and bathe as many homeless people as possible.
That's so great. Do you have a favorite charity, by the way, that you like to support? That's maybe not if it's not hands-on, just you going out. But is there anything that you specifically want to mention here?
No, there's not a charity necessarily. Like I said, a signature cause, if you will, that I'm very supportive of is homelessness. And I've been a big proponent of feeding the homeless before. Whether it's just going to your local Subway or supermarket and buying some subs and bringing them to people in your community. When you actually get to meet people that are homeless, and I just want you guys to know, the reason I'm so passionate about this is because at one point in my life I almost became homeless as well. And when you meet some of these people out there, you realize that they've just been dealt a blow, and that blow can be dealt to any one of us. Like, there's nothing really stopping any one of us from losing it all because of a bad decision, or the company that you work at goes under, or one of your clients goes under. All of a sudden, like, you're kind of out there on your own to fend for yourself. So I've actually taken some time, gone out, fed homeless folks, talked with them as well. Got smart individuals out there, and it breaks my heart because here in San Francisco there are just thousands of homeless people, laying out all over the place. And I wish there's something I could do for them. And when I say wish, like, I meant, like, I wish I had like the finances that could go out and like really, really help these people besides bringing some food. But since you asked that question, that's exactly what I would do. I'd spend my time helping the homeless.
I think that's valid too, because I mean, you talk about people today, how much savings they have set aside. Usually it's not more than maybe a couple months. That's really how close people are to being thrust from having a roof over their head to not. I completely valid. And definitely, I think every community we have out there has people who are just like you and me. And it's just a mere set of specific circumstances that led them to that. So I think that's completely a worthy cause.
Are you in Austin?
Yeah, Ross. No, I'm in Denver, and we also have quite a homeless issue as well, and it's really sad. And I actually have some local charities too, where I love that they help not only get them off the street if they can, but get them to back. Here's how we can help you interview and get back into sustainable income for yourself. But these are important efforts, and I think that's a wonderful answer you said too. What a way to spend a day, where it's like, if I could, let's go get this taken care of, right? So, well, let's see now. If you could pick one power or talent or skill that you don't already have, if you could just instantly have it, what would you add to your overall awesome?
I would love to know how to code. So I'd love to know how to build things. I will be the first to humbly admit that I was given the gift of gab. I can speak, I can present, and that carries over into being a marketer. But I can't build things, and I can't make a website, and I can't code, I can't build an app. And when I sit here in this community where I live in Silicon Valley, and I see kids just coming out of college, becoming millionaires almost overnight, a lot of it's based on their ability to have that skill set and be able to build things. So I would love to be able to code if I could. And it's not too late. I could take some classes.
It's not. You could totally do it. I know. And I see that. I think I've actually must have been looking at that at one point on Facebook, because I see ads for that routine. I'm like, oh yeah, if only, again, if I had that third day of a weekend, I would totally go learn how to code too. And I'm trying to just get my kids how to learn, because, that's they have time right now.
Someone was telling me recently that there are coding classes on Minecraft for kids.
My son is at one right now.
Really?
Actually.
Wow.
Yes, he's in a Minecraft modding summer camp, and he's all into Minecraft. I'm like, good, go learn that and then make money, and then you can support me in my old age. But yeah, he loves it. I think it's fantastic. So yes,
awesome.
Go get the young people into that. Now, I think this kind of wraps up the questions about you, but what would be your best spoil you treat? You've had a full week of work. You want to just go spoil yourself. What would be your treat?
That's a really good question. So I love sporting events, and I would be more than happy going to a football game or a basketball game and having like really good tickets and have a nice meal either before or after. So I'm not a high maintenance guy. I know a lot of people probably say, oh, I'll go on vacation somewhere. That's great. I'd love to travel as well. My wife and I travel quite a bit, but not high maintenance. I'm happy with a good meal and a sporting event. I never turn down food, especially good food.
That makes sense. That's a smart way to go, and food is always awesome. Now, I did see a question we had on Facebook Live. Someone inevitably would love to know your opinions on the new Instagram stories that have rolled out, and how that correlates to the Snapchat stories. Please feel free to pontificate.
Yeah, so actually I think it's really good for business. And what I mean by that is everyone in this ecosystem now, creator level and brand level as well, is going to have to raise their game, because there is a competitor now in market being Instagram. So I actually love the update. And I would advocate for anyone out there to, once stories rolls out, use it and see if you gain any traction with your brand. I think at the end of the day, here's how I look at it. You have Coke and you have Pepsi. You have Apple and Microsoft, and you have Reebok and Nike, and you have Snapchat and you have Instagram. So you're going to have people that naturally are going to be fans of each one of these platforms, and you have people that build up followings in each one of these platforms, and they're going to create content in each one of these platforms, and that's not going to change. I don't think that Snapchat's going away. I've already seen some of the pundits out there that are saying that Snapchat's done. No, Snapchat's not done. They're going to make a very strong push into augmented reality here coming up very soon. But I think this is more of a play for Facebook to be able to roll out some features to make Instagram sexier, to try to keep millennials engaged. And the way I've always seen Instagram is that it's a photo album. So you're not going to use Instagram from the same way that you would use Snapchat in terms of posting a lot of different content. Now, this makes it interesting because you can create more of that story aspect. But let's face it, if you already have a Snapchat, why are you going to want to create stories on Instagram as well? It almost sounds counterintuitive unless you're recording on your phone and then you're saving this content and uploading it to both. And that's a big no-no. And we've even seen this happen with memories recently. People want to see native content. They want to see real-time native content. So my recommendation for anyone sitting here watching this or anyone who's now going to be on the fence is, once stories rolls out, actually use it and create content. And then now you can measure. You can A/B test, create unique content on Snap, create unique content on Instagram using stories, and then A/B test. Where am I getting the most views? Or am I getting the most clicks if you're trying to send people back to a website? Where are you getting the most return on your resources spent? If it's Snapchat, keep going all in on Snapchat. If it's Instagram, cheers, keep going all in on Instagram. I can tell you, since I was given analytics access to my Instagram, I've been seeing the analytics on my Instagram last week alone. And I have no problem showing you guys this. I saw it this morning. Last week alone, a little over 3,000 impressions on my entire week of all my posts on Instagram. I get about 3,000 views per snap. So sitting here, I had to think, if I'm going to put out content, where am I personally going to get the biggest return in terms of engagements? That's Snapchat. And I think this is healthy competition. It adds another, iron in the fire. And I encourage people out there, A/B test, and then make your own decision in terms of where you're seeing the biggest return. I'll tell you this, I'm not a fan of putting the same content everywhere. And I think if you have one network that really works well for you, go all in on that. Don't try to be everywhere. You can't be everywhere and be consistently great everywhere.
Agreed. I think that's a fantastic way to wrap it up, Carlos. Now, before we go, though, is there anything you'd like to share about something coming up that you're working on, or anywhere you'd like people to go visit? Just whatever your parting shot would be for us to visit you.
So I'm working on a website behind the scenes, guys. It's snapchatforbusiness.com. If you go there right now, you're not going to see much. It's more like an email capture right now, but snapchatforbusiness.com, working on developing that as a resource for all things Snapchat for business. So make sure that you check it out. Even sign up now, because once the site goes live with everything that I have going on in here, then I want to be able to engage with you guys and reach you by email. So snapchatforbusiness.com. You can obviously hit me up on Snapchat at @thecarlosgill, or you can scan this, see if that works. Take a little screenshot of that. Perfect. And anything that I can do for you, Rachel, or the community out there, you can hit me up anytime, whether it's on Snap or emails, carlos@carlosgill.biz.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful, gracious host today and sharing your knowledge. You are, in my mind, a who's who in social media. So I so appreciate you taking today's guest spot. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for watching, and also on Facebook Live. Again, feel free to contact Carlos. You can message either of us. You can find us on Facebook and elsewhere. But we'll be back next week talking about what's happening in social media, which, as we've already touched on, Instagram stories is out. There's, I guess, LinkedIn is going to add some influencer videos as well, and we're going to start touching on all that stuff. But we'll be back next Tuesday at noon right here on Huzza and also on Facebook. Thank you again for a great show, everyone.